and welcome to the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. And Sam and I are very happy to have a special guest with us today, the head coach at CHS, Dave McCollough. Dave, hi.
How are we doing today?
I'm fine, and you?
Well, doing pretty good for the most part.
Good to hear that. Sam, I know you work with Dave.
Yeah, and
every Friday and Saturday night during
a lot of
basketball
those nights,
season.
and I've enjoyed that time, getting to know him, and appreciate his sense of humor during that time, and sometimes you have to have a sense of humor.
Well, a lot of people don't think I have a sense of humor, so for you
That's
to say
'cause
that, that's good.
That's because they don't know you.
That's true. That's true. But no, it was good. We had some pretty good talks before, and
Before and after.
sometimes after, but before.
Well, most of the time. Most of the time. But,
Dave, I know the season ended, and it wasn't the best of endings for us.
No. It's on Wednesday night against Franklin County, there was a point in that game where I wasn't sure we were ever going to score another bucket. We were stuck on 14 forever.
Yes.
And but we were really good defensively. We played. I mean, we were playing really good defensively. Yes. But man, we just could not buy a bucket. And it was 14-14 at half, then 21-14 at the end of the third quarter, and then Xander McHenry hit one. When he finally hit one, I think it was a collective sigh of relief, and that kind of got us going.
Sure.
And so that helped out. So we put together a comeback in the fourth quarter and get it tied going into overtime, and then I believe it was we outscored them 6-1 in the overtime. It was really a great job by the boys, being able to hang around and fight the adversity and come back and make a run in the last quarter, tie it up, and then get the lead and win the game in overtime.
It was a great game, a real thriller, yes. But the Spartans were behind most of the game, weren't they, until the few seconds?
Well, that's true. Yeah, we tied it up late to get it to that overtime period. But I guess that was maybe a sign of things to come, right? Because that Greensburg game before ours on Friday night, holy smokes. 3 overtimes? They just kept playing and playing.
Playing pass out there for a long time.
Lawrenceburg held the ball for quite a while. Almost that whole one of the extra periods, they held the ball almost the entire time.
So that's one of the highlights of the season for the Spartans. You consider that overtime win?
Well, I'd have to. We didn't have enough highlights, to be honest with you.
Well, that's right. Few and far between, but.
Yeah, and I can't. There's not a bad thing I can say about the kids, because they battled. I thought they played hard. I thought they kept their spirits up. They were coachable, and I mentioned this to you on several occasions. If somebody would walk into our practice, if they came in on Wednesday night and watched us practice late in the season, they would never have guessed we were sitting one loss where we were sitting. They would have guessed, these guys they're pretty spirited and they're getting after it. And so the effort was there, and the positive attitude was there, and it was fun. The practices to me were fun. Probably not so much for the boys, but for me the practices were fun because they were just playing, and there was nothing on the line. And then when the games came along, it seemed like we just struggled to find ways to win the game. And I went back through our schedule today, and we won 6 games, and there was probably 8 or 9 games, Sam could attest to this, 8 or 9 games where it was woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, we had 8 or 9 games where we could have won the game.
Yes.
If we got a stop here and got a bucket here. Sometimes if you can get, if it's a close game, all you need is a possession or two.
Yes.
And that can totally swing the tide one way or the other. For us, sometimes that may have been at the end of the third quarter. And all of a sudden, it's a relatively close game, and then we turn the ball over, or we don't get a block out and they get an easy putback. And now what's a 2-point or 3-point game turns into a 5 or 6-point game.
Yes.
It just it seemed like when that happened to us, it really took the wind out of us on several occasions, where it was really difficult for us to come back and get the win. But out of those 8 or 9 games, shoot, if we would have got half of those, we'd be about a 500 ball club.
Right.
But we didn't do it. And the thing, I guess, one of the things that was really disappointing to me and disheartening to me were those other 10 games where I don't feel like we competed very well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, you're talking about one of them was against the number 2 team in the state at Noblesville. One of them was at home against the number 12 team in the state, which was Richmond. One of them was on the road at number 15, which was New Pal. And then another one was against Mount Vernon, who ended up being honorable mention in the final tally. So out of those 10 games, 4 or 5 of them were against top-notch teams.
Yes.
And but then there's another 4 or 5 where I just thought we needed to compete better. I was really disappointed we didn't compete a little bit better against Jennings County and Whiteland and Beech Grove and a couple of those schools. Pendleton, Newcastle. I thought we could have. I thought we could have competed better against them to try to get ourselves in a position to win the game at the end.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the upcoming schedule. Any new teams on it?
Actually, we are switching it around a little bit. We are going to drop a couple teams, and we're going to pick up South Ripley is going to be on the schedule next year. Seton Catholic is going to be on the schedule. Oldenburg, and we're in the process of talking. We're either going to have Centerville, Muncie Central, Eastern Hancock coming on board.
Okay.
So we're changing around a little bit.
Yes.
And you mentioned some of those teams that, correct me if I'm wrong, Seton just won a sectional and Oldenburg just won a sectional. I mean, they're
Yes.
small schools, but they've played well.
Yes, on both accounts.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. They're smaller, but they're good programs, and yes, they won their respective sectionals.
Realignment's coming up, and they've changed. It's going to be the top 20% numbers-wise in Class 4A, and then 25% and 25% in 2A and 3A, and 30% of the teams will be in 1A, which could, the way I'm looking at it, could maybe change the sectional that we play in. Of course, we won't know, but there was a time when we were in 4A, we would go north instead of going south. But if I'm looking at the numbers right, Richmond could be in 3A, East Central could be in 3A. So we may not have this sectional championship also be a conference championship.
It may change, and it's not going to change us.
No.
As far as what category we're in, we're going to stay 3.
Right.
But yeah, there's some at the upper end of 3, or the lower end of 4 that could be affected. That would drop.
Which may
down.
change where we go to play a sectional.
Yes. Yeah. So it could be. Well, there's I guess could be several new scenarios, and I've not heard a word about any of that. That's come out that.
I don't know. Probably wait until the tournament's over before they
Probably, yeah.
make those determinations.
That would be my guess. But I would say there's a really good chance things will change.
And just go play the game. Doesn't matter where you're playing, I guess.
Well, I wish we were playing at the bowl.
Well, we should be, and I would hope that. It was my understanding that Batesville had vetoed coming to the bowl this year, and that's why it was at Greensburg 2 years in a row. And to me, there's no place like the bowl. We saw the other night down there between games that it took about an extra 10 minutes to clear the floor because people have to come down out of the stands onto the floor to get out of the building. So you don't have that problem at the Grand Palace.
No, and I talked to Ms. Van Meter about it, and I don't know the whole story. Don't really need to know. I guess it's water under the bridge, but something happened because it was supposed to alternate. My understanding was that it was supposed to alternate between Greensburg and us, and then something happened, and they did a special vote, and next thing you know, Greensburg has it 2 years in a row. So, but I think that moving forward, I think that it's the powers to be are going to try to do everything they can to try and get the sectional back here.
It needs to be. I've talked to some of the other coaches in the conference and in that sectional that thinks it should be here every year. That some of our opponents, which
that's what I've heard from them, but several of them anyway. You know, there's just several venues in the state that there should be activity going on in. You know, they should be playing at Newcastle. They should be playing at Muncie Central Fieldhouse. They should be playing at the Bowl. They should be playing at the Hatchet House down in Washington. Northside Gym up in Elkhart. You know,
right.
Case Arena over in Frankfort. You know, the Mill over in Noblesville. Now, a lot of those venues, they need to be put to use because they're good venues and has a lot of tradition and a lot of history in all those schools.
Back several years ago when Richmond built the Tiernan Center and took the regional away from Connorsville. Now, I think the Tiernan Center is extremely uncomfortable, but and it seats about the same as Spartan Bowl now since they put in the new bleachers. But they're just those places that it meant a lot to a community to host a regional.
Well, I remember being a young man and Richmond hosted the sectional at
Civic Hall.
At Civic Hall.
Yeah.
You know, people had to put the ball in play. If you were sitting on the front row, they'd have to turn sideways so the official could fit the player in there so they could put the ball in. I mean, what a great home court advantage. I thought that was.
Fran called some games there, I know.
A little crowded, just a wee bit, yes.
Oh, you're right on top of the action. But you know, that's
right.
But
That's exciting.
if you could get a ticket to get in, I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was the old place I like to go that pack them in there is the Winchester Fieldhouse.
Another nice venue. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was old gyms, and I like. Even though I always want to beat them, I like the Rushville Memorial Gym. It's a great place to watch a ball game.
I agree. Those are they're fun places to play in, coach in. I don't know about playing in some of them, but I didn't play in a lot of those, but I've coached in a lot of them.
Yeah.
So, but it's a lot of fun. It just a lot of those places, and you walk the hallway, and you see pictures on the wall of the Indiana All-Stars, the 1,000-point scores. I mean, that makes it pretty exciting, too. At least for me it does. You go down and like, oh, man, yes, I remember. You know, when you walk through, going down the hallway there at Rushville, for example, or our place. You go,
right.
You know, and you see, you see Howard, McDevitt. I mean, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and Phil Cox and Gerald Thomas, those guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Jim Crone and Jim Crone graduated in '62. I graduated in '70, but I was going to games to watch him play. What a great guy.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. Kids today, they just look at us like we're weird. Maybe we are.
But you know, having said that, last week when I interviewed the seniors there at the Bowl, and I said, "Who did you look at? Who was your favorite growing up?" Well, it was Grant Smith for them, Indiana All-Star. That because they were 6-8 years younger than he is, and so they looked up to them, and I think that our kids understand year after year that it's those little guys that are sitting over there by the tunnel when they come out, when the varsity players come out, that they've got, the varsity players have to set that example on and off the court for those kids.
Well, and how cool was it when those we introduced the kids that were in the dirt road league and in the boys club, and they all came filing out, and there was a lot of kids in the
Fist
gym.
bumping and
Oh yeah, those 2 nights there was a lot of little guys out there on the court, and not so little guys.
yeah,
But it's pretty neat.
it is.
Well, that's what it's all about. It's families and youngsters growing up and be in schools shortly. So it's important, isn't it?
Passing the torch.
That's right, right.
It's passing the torch,
Yes.
and I always told kids, I said, you never know who's watching, so you have to, be on your best behavior and set a good example, because you never know.
Good.
And it's not just when you're running around there half naked in front of everybody in a basketball outfit, but then, what about when you're leaving the game or going into the game, or they see you at McDonald's, or the Roosters. I mean,
Right.
that's a big deal.
Up at the park in the summertime, just being up there shooting and playing. They have some pretty good games up the park and during that time, and the little guys are there watching too.
Sure, yeah. There was always, I always heard stories about over there at Lebanon. They said they used to bring, when Mount was playing, that they would pull the cars up, and people would come from Indy and so forth, and Lafayette, and they'd come in, they'd park the cars, because they didn't have lights, so they used the headlights. They'd play out there at night, and the competition was unbelievable. So, but that happened in a lot of places back in the day.
Right.
People,
Sure.
where I grew up was up in Plymouth area, so they were coming to Centennial Park and playing on the outdoor courts, and there were some good guys from a guy by the name of Skiles played out there, and Bethel players would come down, plus high school players, and those types of things were happening all over the state.
Sure.
Playing those summer games. You didn't need to have open gym, organized. You just go out and play against guys older. You just get the dog beat out of you, and you got better.
A lot of banging.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So you learn how to play. You learn how to be physical and take physicality.
I've heard for years that great players are made in the summertime.
Between March and October. Teams between October and March. Yep.
This is a schedule for some high school and middle school events this week with Connersville. On Tuesday, the middle school wrestling will be with Benjamin Rush at Spartan Arena at 5:30. On Wednesday, the middle school wrestling at Richmond and Hagerstown at Spartan Arena. That's another 5:30 start. On Thursday, the girls' 8th grade red basketball will be at Franklin County at 5:30. The girls' 7th grade red basketball also at Franklin County. On Saturday, middle school wrestling invitational at Eastern Hancock beginning at 9 in the morning. A co-ed boys and girls varsity track at Brownstown Central for the Pike Individual Championships at 10 o'clock in the morning. Area seasonal records, the girls' gymnastics placed 5th at the regionals. The sectionals, Rushville, ended up 5-19 on the season. They lost in the sectional opener to Greensburg, 43-27. Franklin County, 8-15. They lost to the Spartans in the sectional opener at 30-25. Spartans, 6-20, lost to Batesville in the second round of the sectional, 48-31. Batesville 20-5. They won the sectional, beating Lawrenceburg 44-36. Union County 11-14. They lost sectional championship to Northeastern 43-41. East Central 12-14. They lost the sectional championship to Franklin 41-34. Richmond 20-4 on the season. They lost in the sectional opener to Muncie Central 54-51. Pendleton Heights 11-13. They lost to New Palestine 60-58 in the second round. New Palestine 22-5 won the sectional 40-48, beating Greenfield Central 24-1 was their season record. Regional is Saturday at 4 p.m. Scottsburg and Batesville play in the Seymour, and in Seymour, that's where the games will be. The winner of that game goes to the semi-state. Coach, are you pleased with the way the roundup is? Well, the HCA has changed things around so much. Used to be regional, 3 games, and they just won't leave things alone.
No, and it used to be, growing up, you knew exactly who was going to be in your sectional every year. You didn't have to worry about a 2-year cycle. You knew who the 8 teams or the 12 teams or whatever it was. You always knew who was going to be in your sectional.
Yes.
And you knew who was going to host it, and you knew that we'd go over. Semi-state was going to be at the Coliseum over in Fort Wayne, and you didn't know who it was going to be, but you know it was going to be at the Coliseum in Fort Wayne, and that
or
was
Butler Fieldhouse in Indy.
Yeah, depending on which. Yeah,
That's
of course.
Right, yeah.
But you knew where it was at.
Yes.
Every year, and you could plan accordingly. And I kind of miss those. Now it's a crapshoot as far as are you? I saw. I forget where Northeastern was playing at. They may be down at Seymour.
Yeah, it was a long way.
Because we won 5 in a row over at Shenandoah, and we played every year. We went to Greenfield and played at Greenfield. I saw they're going to a different venue, and somebody else is at Greenfield.
Yes.
So that changes. Now I saw there were some good games at Newcastle. I think Fishers is playing Kokomo, and that's about 15 minutes from my house, so I may have to go take that in.
Check that out.
So there's, so it's funny how this year it's here, but next year it's going to be there, and I like a little more structure.
What you were talking about though back semi-state at the Coliseum in Fort Wayne, and then at Mackey Arena, and at Hinkle Fieldhouse, and down at Roberts Arena in Evansville. I mean, you could count on that, and those places would be sold out. It was just, and it was great for the kids on those teams to get to play where the college kids play.
Yeah, now that's illegal.
Yeah, which I don't understand.
Yeah, because it affects could enhance their recruiting, but it was hard to get a ticket. I mean,
we would have a lottery here to get tickets to those events.
Yeah, I remember one time we bought tickets, took kids down. A couple kids couldn't show up, and so I was standing on the corner I was just trying to give a couple tickets away to somebody who wanted to go in, and a cop came up and said, "If you don't get off my corner, I'm going to arrest you for scalping." I said, "I'm trying to give these away. You get out of here." He chased me off from there. If my wife we had a couple extras, just wanted to give them something.
Trying to be a nice guy.
Yeah. I know, hard to believe it. Yeah.
They thought you were selling them, right?
Huh?
They thought you were trying to sell them?
Oh, they thought I was scalping them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was illegal, to scalp them. So at that time. So now they do it all the time.
Okay. You put a sign on say I'm not a scalper or something?
I should have. Maybe a neon sign.
Flashing off and on, right. What do you think of the coming changes in the IHSAA? No, nothing firm yet, but shot clock right around the corner?
Well, I'm afraid it is.
And you don't like that?
Oh, I don't like it.
Okay.
No.
Not many coaches like it.
I can't answer that. There's some coaches that would like that. I'm not a big believer in that. I still don't like the, and it probably helped us out a couple times this year.
Yes.
When you get down to the last quarter and you get to your 5th foul and you're shooting 2 free throws instead of 1 and 1.
Yes.
I don't like that. I think that takes away from some of your strategy.
Yes.
You have a close game going and it's 1 and 1. It's a heck of a lot easier to hit 1 shot when you know you have 2 as opposed to I got to hit 1 shot and it's a 1 and 1. There's just that intrinsic pressure is there when it's a 1 and 1. And if you're down late in the game, I want the 1 and 1. If we're ahead late in the game, I guess I'd like the 2 shots, but I sure want to, time. We tell our kids time and
Yes.
score. it's a 2-point game with 72 seconds to go, they got to foul us unless we get a wide open layup. And so if you put the shot clock in, it's going to take away some of that strategy.
Sure will. A lot of strategy.
So do I like it? I don't care for that.
I don't. It's if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, then
they keep tinkering with it.
And look what happened here over the weekend with Caitlin Clark, and man, is she good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard to compare when you start talking about Pistol Pete Maravich scoring 3,600 points and Caitlin Clark doing it. He played 3 years with no three-point line. She played 4 years with a three-point line. And I won't take it. Man, she's good. I wish I had her on my team.
And it looks like she's
fun to watch, man.
She's going to be coming to Indianapolis they get the first-round draft pick. So.
And they'll just explode, I think, as far as ticket sales and popularity.
It's going to be a good thing for the state of Indiana.
But I think it's hard
put the Fevers on the map, probably, won't
Oh,
she?
yeah. But to compare scoring from different eras, I think that's kind of tough sometimes.
Right. It's like apples and oranges, isn't it?
Well, Maravich was averaging 45 points a game.
Right.
To get his, in order to get, because they couldn't play as a freshman.
Right.
That was
outlawed.
outlawed.
A freshman team.
Yeah, it was outlawed at that time, so they couldn't. And a three-point line, they would have laughed that off.
Yeah.
Now it's a huge part of it.
And
Coach, what do you want the upcoming kids to do during the summer to get ready?
Well, first of all, I don't want to wait till summer.
I know you want to get the weight room real.
I want to, a couple weeks here we'll have spring break and we come back. I'm hoping that the kids are serious about it, want to get in the weight room and get stronger and just get up thousands of shots. Not hundreds of shots, thousands of shots. And get up shots, shoot the ball, get stronger, and play the game. You can't, if you can do all the drill work in the world, but you still got to play and you got to learn how to adjust and,
You want them to think basketball year round.
Do I? Well, yeah, I do.
Okay, so you want them to do.
Yeah, and as I told our kids, we came back, and it's just an awful night. The last game is always just awful. And told the seniors how much we appreciated them, and told the other kids coming back, how many of you guys play other sports? Well, a bunch of kids raised their hand.
Sure.
And I asked one, I said, how many you got? He said, well, I play 3. I said, so you're going to go a third, a third, and a third? He goes, yeah. I go, nope. That means you got to do 3 times as much.
Okay.
Right. That's the problem is kids think they can do, I play 2 sports, so I'll put half of it here and half of it there.
Sure.
But you got to be doing twice as much.
Sure.
Or 3 times as much, if you want to be good.
At that next level.
Yeah, because the kids, there's a lot of kids that play one sport and they're working year round. Sure. So somehow you got to keep up.
That's right. Sam, you're retiring from the Voice of the Spartans.
Voice of the Spartans. It's been great. This is my last show here on TV3, and it's certainly been a pleasure working with you. And
been an exciting time for me.
We've had a good time, and but there comes a time in a person's life. Everything has its season, and
that's right.
And I've been blessed 33 great years. I'm going to get a little emotional here, but I appreciate all of our listeners and our viewers throughout the years, and I'm not going anywhere. I'll be at Spartan Bowl rooting Coach Mack on and Coach Williams on with the girls. I'm still going to go to games. I can go and be a fan and yell at the refs.
Once a Spartan fan, always a Spartan fan.
That's right. That's right.
Dave, I know you appreciated Sam's work.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I told him I'm a little worried, though, because I'm afraid he'll come heckle me now. Sitting behind me. I'm afraid he may be, like, chucking things at the bench or something. But, no, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's been good. And I think that you got something special here when you talk before games, after games. And, it's tough a couple times coming out after the games. A couple times, all of a sudden time gets away if you have something you think you need to say to the team, but it's pretty neat to be able to do that.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, everybody, for watching this edition of the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. Have a nice evening.